This is the legend of Cassius Clay, the most beautiful fighter in the world today.
What should people tell their kids who Muhammad Ali was?
Clay is lightning fast.
He was a tremendous bolt of lightning.
I am the greatest.
Muhammad Ali struck us in the middle of America's darkest night, in the heart of its most threatening gathering storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's young, he's handsome.
They know it.
He's a poet, and many people believe he'll be the next heavyweight champion of the world.
He was leaning back and away from punches.
Cassius Clay, you gotta remember, is the greatest fighter that ever lived, in and out of the ring.
This will unquestionably be the toughest fighter that Clay has been in with so far.
Created by Mother Nature out of thin air, a fantastic combination of power and beauty.
And he combined that velocity with the power of a heavyweight.
Moore is sent to the canvas again by a barrage of punches.
He did things nobody would do. He predicted the round that he would knock somebody out, and then he would do it.
Clay wins by a fourth-round knockout, as predicted.
He was the first available superstar.
He was funny. He was beautiful. He was the most perfect athlete you ever saw, and those were his own words.
He saw the publicity it brought. And what did the publicity equal? A larger and larger presence on the American stage.
Sonny Liston, I watched him here in the gym a few months ago when he was here to fight Howard King. And he can hit a guy in the elbows and just about break his arm.
Liston was virtually invincible, just a dreadnought of a fighter. Liston was a great fighter. I seen him knock out a guy's teeth one night. It's the truth, no baloney. Hit him so hard, he dislodged the mouthpiece and the teeth went with the mouth. And he had this very forbidding and intimidating, utterly hostile manner about him.
He was so powerful. Honest to God, when he jabbed you, it was the same as punching somebody, you know?
I had no dreaming idea that he could win that fight. I didn't give him a chance in hell.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
He was a 22-year-old by the name of Cassius Clay.
Liston, almost the first time he hits him. Could be one, perhaps two. I'll take one.
I look for Liston to win in 3 rounds. I like Liston in about 1 to 3 rounds.
He was perfect for television. He was the provocateur, which is what TV wanted.
As we got near to the fight, a new fella showed up, Malcolm X.
Ali's interface with the counterculture and the beginnings of his huge socio-political presence.
If he were made to realize how black people really feel and how fed up we are without that old compromise and sweet talk.
As if he hadn't put enough pressure on himself, Cassius Clay decided to announce that morning he had joined the black Muslim religion, an unpopular militant group.
Ticket sales started dropping to Muslims. They were thinking of possibly canceling the fight.
That was a polarizing moment, that Cassius Marcellus Clay was going to be Muhammad Ali, and we'd never seen anything like that.
You know how great I am. I don't have to tell you about my strategy. Let my trainer tell you. Bodini, come here. Bodini, tell him, what are we going to do? You're going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble.
This will be the biggest contest in the...
By the time the Liston weigh-in took place, it was in agreement with the boxing people that we should get serious.
It's the morning of February 25th, the day of the big fight. Now we'll see the craziest weigh-in in all boxing history.
You don't want to make Sonny mad. Sonny's bad enough when he's not mad. And I agreed to that all the way up, and then he hit the door.
Clay said anybody would have to be afraid of a crazy man.
It was all part of young Clay's master plan.
Cassius was smart, and he was clever. And he could get under Liston's skin more so than anybody ever.
I saw Sonny Liston a few days ago, Cash.
Ain't he ugly? He's too ugly to be the world's champ. The world's champ should be pretty like me.
Well, he told me to bet my life that you wouldn't go 3 rounds.
Well, if you want to lose your money, then bet on Sunday.
It's hard to be somebody who was whistling past the graveyard, somebody who had to be scared, who was trying to, keep his courage up before he was destroyed.
I felt that Sonny Liston was going in and squash this boastful,
braggartly kid like an ant.
All set now. World heavyweight boxing title on the line.
Just the anticipation of my father thinking that Ali was going to get killed literally by Sonny Liston, because that is what people thought.
The real drama around this fight was whether this hysterical man-child was going to lose his nerve, whether he was going to show up, and whether he was going to get killed.
Very slippery.
Greatest of all time, greatest athlete, ambassador, human being of all time.
The challenger is jabbing all.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Look at the guy yawning. Tell us what you think at the end of one.
You look at the videos, or there's documentaries, there's movies, and it's hard to sum him up because you could do documentaries on different parts of his life.
Sonny wobbles. Sonny wobbles. Cassius has him hurt. Sonny has a big mouth below his left eye. And he's getting hit with all the punches in the book.
So I get him down, I get the sponge and I pour the water into his eyes, trying to cleanse whatever's there. Before I did that, put my pinky in his eye, and I put it into my eye. It burned like hell. There was something caustic in both eyes. Joe Polino had used Moncel solution on that cut, and my kid, sweating profusely, went into both eyes. What the heck, let's face it, biggest fight of his life, and he's blind, he can't see.
Joe's eyes, his eyes are bothering him. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know exactly what happened. They're yelling from Cassius Clay's corner, something got in his right eye.
Ali at 199 pounds was just not a full body heavyweight at that point, when Sonny Liston was probably 220.
Hold the ball, Cassius is a bit hurt.
Sonny Liston put a horrible licking on him in that round. The lesser guy would have folded, but then his eyes started clear. He started doing a number on Liston again.
Easy target. Cassius, awkwardly fast. Good long left lead.
In the sixth round, when Liston went back to his corner, Liston was a beaten man.
What do you think is going on in Sonny's mind at this point?
Well, I think that they feel now that Clay have all the confidence he needs and go on to defeat Sonny.
Cassius Clay, he's got peripheral vision, sharp. He's looking over my shoulder. He's looking over my shoulder. He got up. We win.
Sonny Liston, Sonny out! Sonny Liston is out! He's out! The winner and the new heavyweight champion of the world is Cassius Clay. Life ongoing.
And in 1964, he became heavyweight champion of the world, upsetting Sonny Liston, the 7-1 favorite.
Electrified, and there he was right in front of me and a whole bunch of other newspaper men pointing down to us like this. I told you exactly what I was going to do.
And nobody, even the big sports writers, they were in awe over what he had done.
So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I'm the king of the world.
Hold it.
I'm pretty.
Hold it, you're not that pretty.
I'm a bad man.
Wait.
I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
Had Liston gotten by, the powers that be never would have allowed Cassius Clay to fight again.
Who's the greatest? Who you gonna fight? Who's the greatest? You notice they don't say nothing. No justice.
Said he was the greatest. All of the odds were against him. He upset the odds makers. He won.
Nothing in Cassius Clay's past prepared him to become Muhammad Ali.
Cassius is not my name no more. Officially Muhammad Ali now. Muhammad Ali, right. Muhammad Ali. That's my name.
White America won't stand for it, which they did.
Black people in many parts of this country weren't allowed to drink from the same water fountains as white people, to eat in the same restaurants.
Cassius is in a better position than anyone else to restore a sense of racial pride to not only our people in this country, but all over the world.
How do you feel about Malcolm's killing? I feel that it will touch off a war here in New York City between the black Muslims and Allah Muhammad.
The head of the World Boxing Association. He was going to take Muhammad Ali's title away because Muhammad Ali did not think like they wanted him to think.
The title does not belong to the title holder. The title belongs to the World Boxing Association.
A rematch with Liston was scheduled for November of 1964 in Boston.
rounds or less. The world heavyweight title, the big fight, the big night, round number 1. Here we go. You'll note that Cassius wants to stay out in the center of the ring where he happens to be the king.
Muhammad threw, I don't know, maybe 4 punches at most.
He had gotten knocked out by a punch he didn't see. Muhammad was floating around, and what happened? He made an angle on the guy, missing and throwing a jab, his head went down. He didn't see the punch. He got hit right on the temple.
Jersey Joe Walcott. Sonny cannot move.
Hey, Cassius, you're talking.
I'm not Cassius. You still calling me? I can't get on with
Mohammed,
you.
you're talking in.
I'm not no white man.
You have to talk in general.
So you want to keep calling me a white man's name? I'm not white. I don't want to be called after your name no more. I'm not no slave. I'm Muhammad Ali.
With Clay peppering him, and down he goes. He was in a bad spot in the corner, and he is down. 5, 6.
When we think about the legacy of Muhammad Ali, what he did in the ring is not what we think about.
Because he was doing Gandhi outside of the ring, and he could knock out anybody in the world. The guy could hold court in the poorest of the poor right up to the White House. When he walked in, he lit up the room.
I mean, he literally moved faster and lighter on his feet than most welterweights. Damn, he was fast.
Yeah.
Look at this. But the movement, the side to side, it was like there's no heavyweights that ever moved like that. No one. This is Ali, like in '67. He was sleek.
Fast he is. He goes.
Oh.
Williams will survive the round. All right.
A couple of guys got this thing about trying to get him steamed up, calling him Cassius Clay.
You know, Cassius Clay, yes.
Why do you want to say Cassius Clay when Howard Cosell and everybody is calling you Muhammad Ali? Now, why you got to be the one of all people whose color to keep saying Cassius Clay? Why don't you call me my name, man?
Well, what's your name? You told me your name was Cassius Clay a few years ago.
I never told you my name was Cassius Clay.
My name is Muhammad Ali, and you will announce it right there in the center of that ring after the fight if you don't do it now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as the two contestants prepare for battle right now,
back off.
Who was the one that when he was doing, what's my name, what's my name?
You all know exactly who I am. Say my name.
Ready to humiliate him.
And he is screaming at him, "What's my name? What's my name?"
Say my name.
The Director Selective Service is going to establish tonight a random selection sequence.
The Draft Lottery, a live report on tonight's picking of the birth dates for the draft.
It was the first lottery used to order men into military service since 1942.
As you have just seen, the heavyweight champion of the world has rejected induction into the military service.
People say, well, the Vietnam War, everybody was against it. Wrong. Wrong. 1965, 1966, 95% were in favor of that war. Nobody criticized the U.S.
If you were opposed to the war in Vietnam, they thought you were patriotic and cowardly draft dodgers.
More than half of all African Americans opposed the war in Vietnam. Blacks were disproportionately dying in Vietnam.
What about your unpatriotic remarks that you made?
You said you were the people's champion?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that you're acting like a people's champion?
Yes, sir.
So you only have two kind of men, those who compromise and those who take a stand. See? And when you take a stand, you have to be ready to pay for it.
No matter what you think of Mr. Muhammad Ali's
religion certainly have to admire his courage.
Ali had the strength to speak in a time you could be silenced.
Dr. Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
I still have a dream.
With Bobby Kennedy gone, Martin Luther King gone, Malcolm X gone, who was there to relate to when Vietnam exploded in our face?
That was a flashpoint, really. I mean, everything that Ali had done before was as nothing compared with his refusal to be inducted.
Suddenly, it didn't seem so craven to be afraid to go into the army and fight this war.
There were millions of young men my age eligible for the draft for a war that we didn't believe in, all of us huddled on the conveyor belt feeding the war machine.
It took an all-white jury less than a half hour to find Muhammad Ali guilty of all charges.
This fella they call Kalayi or Muhammad Ali, whatever he wants to call himself, is a disgrace to the nation.
While fighting imprisonment for his stand, Ali was also stripped of his title.
When the mightiest government in the world come down on you, and yet you didn't compromise.
You my enemy. My enemies are white people, not Viet Congs or Chinese or Japanese.
Cassius had receded, and the man who became Muhammad Ali had transcended sport.
This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
They were the police, jury, and executioner all in one.
You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
How he wondered whether or not he would ever fight again, and his title was stripped from him. How he was a pariah in America.
His ban was eventually overturned by the Supreme Court.
Ali here today a victim. The Supreme Court exonerated for refusing military induction.
This was Ali's return to the ring after a 3.5-year exile.
The time he was out would have been great. It would have been watching a master at work, because he had reached his full proportions, full maturity. The world never got to see the best of Ali. What you got was plenty, but you didn't see the best of him.
That left! The crowd screaming, the first knockdown of the fight, he took the mandatory 8, and now Ali is behaving like the old Ali.
See, he didn't spend those 3 years lifting weights and running hills and hitting the heavy bag. He wasn't doing anything.
It's over! Ali is the knockout winner!
2 undefeated champions, 2 champions of the first rank, and Ali coming back to reclaim in many people's minds what was rightly his, but not against some patsy. Against Joe Frazier.
Muhammad Ali in the ring in a beautiful, beautiful red and white robe. Now here comes Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier will be here any minute.
We have 2 undefeated fighters in there. Frazier has won all 26 of his bouts with 23 knockouts, and Muhammad Ali has won all 31 of his bouts with 25 knockouts.
Young Muhammad Ali would have run circles around Joe Frazier.
Look at Ali go. Look at him go. Look at him.
I mean, he doesn't look anything like he used to look. I mean, he's bouncing around a little bit in the beginning.
The crowd is chanting Ali, and Joe says, come on out and fight.
But he's just not the same guy.
Ali didn't have the speed to avoid punches, but he learned he could stand and fight.
A wicked punch.
The round is over. The round is over. What a round.
I don't know how he survived that round.
Joe just relentlessly keeps going. He has more stamina and power than anybody I think I've ever seen. Don't you, Archie?
15 and final round. Referee, time is important here.
You felt like the world wanted him to stay down, to lose.
Many wanted to watch this liberal, black draft dodger get his ass kicked.
He wouldn't give him the comfort of him staying down.
Ali got up simply because he knew that that's what they wanted. And to every elder statesman in the black community that I've ever known, every one of them remember that story.
Champion of the world, Joe Frazier!
Joe Frazier! For the first time in his career, Muhammad Ali was beaten.
The question on everyone's mind was whether Ali could ever be the fighter he once was.
And when I do come back, if I ever do, I'll have more of a hunger, determination, which is something you lose in the intoxication of so-called greatness.
Muhammad Ali, I am told, suffered a broken jaw in the first round. Nobody can really believe what they have seen. It is a tired Ali and a hurt Ali.
Frank Rustich, 7 points Norton, 5 points Ali. There it is! There it is! One of the greatest upsets again in boxing history.
He has a broken jaw, he is a beaten man, and he is a broken fighter. And so all of the millions of dollars that loom before him with a Foreman match or a Frazier rematch are suddenly gone. What was once a very great fighter becomes now part of fistic history in all probability.
George Foreman had annihilated everyone that stepped in the ring with him.
I had beaten everybody that Muhammad Ali had lost to.
The challenger for the heavyweight title, Big George Foreman, the undefeated heavyweight.
I must break you. So I thought I was the toughest thing ever invented.
And George was a big, strong, young, impervious to pain heavyweight.
If he put you, if he put you 6 feet deep, ultimately, George Foreman didn't have a problem with that. He was that vicious.
One punch of mine was equal to 20 of any other heavyweight champion.
Whatever he hits, he destroys. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
I got Joe Frazier, who had dropped Muhammad Ali.
The most menacing heavyweight of all time. It would be George Foreman.
I was going to be the best heavyweight that ever existed.
He is with Ken Norton, and the reason for that, of course, is that he doesn't like George Foreman one bit. Do you really believe, Ali, that he can beat this man?
Yeah, the man went 24 rounds with me, broke my jaw in the first round. I was in shape to sack him fight.
In those days, he was a bully. The people around him were afraid of him. Foreman had really brutalized the people who trained him, and they were terrified of him.
Given the hell he gave me, as fast as I am, as accurate as I am, I couldn't whoop Ken Norton.
I had beaten the best in Joe Frazier. No doubt about it, I had beaten the best. People had something to say about that. I said, you know what? I'm going to kill one of these fellows. Then they'll shut up.
And it looks like Norton has really been staggered.
Foreman was a guy who destroyed Frazier, destroyed Kenny Norton.
Whipped by Kenny Norton. I knocked Kenny Norton out easily.
George Foreman became a heavyweight.
Once again, Muhammad Ali found himself in great demand. The WBC and the WBA mandated the fight. The public certainly wanted it, and the media clamored for it.
I think George Foreman will knock Muhammad Ali out, and it'll end Muhammad Ali's career.
Other boxers were scared, handlers were scared. The only person that didn't appear scared of Foreman was Ali.
I'll prove to the world that I'm still the fastest, the prettiest, the most classiest, the most scientific, the greatest fighter of all time.
Everybody was scared, but Muhammad Ali himself.
And Ali is getting the people to chant, Ali Boumaier. That means Ali kill him.
Have you fought many guys who were talkers in the ring?
No, I never get a chance to talk much. By the time you get to know a fella, it's all over.
As for the fight itself, discussion centered not on who would win, but on how much punishment Foreman would dish out.
The time may have come to say goodbye to Muhammad Ali.
And now we understand that George Foreman is about to make his way to the ring.
Because very honestly, I don't think he can beat George Foreman.
Cosell was convinced that Ali is washed up.
This guy was the closest thing to a human monster I'd ever seen before. He was certainly the scariest boxer.
Look at this now as they stare. Muhammad Ali beginning to talk to George Foreman. They're really putting the stare on each other.
I looked him in the eye to stare him down and said, "Oh, George, you were in school when I was beating Sonny Liston."
Gone in the past 4 years beyond 2 rounds in any fight. By George Foreman.
He knew that the one weakness in this monster, who was thought of as unbeatable, was his stamina.
The first round, all of us yelled out, "Get off the rope." And he would just say, "Shut up, I know what I'm doing."
Well, I would say that the round was very even, of course, that's it.
And Ali totally got into the guy's head, and he didn't even realize it.
It was Muhammad Ali's fertile mind that created the rope with those.
Here we go, round number 2. The determined Ali got off his stool in between rounds. George Foreman sat down all the way. Ali leaned on the rope with the vicinity of trying to get.
Starting second or third round, when he went to the ropes, he was calling Foreman all kinds of names. Any name of otherness you can think of.
Talk. Definitely serious. Tremendous combination.
He fought just like your initial bumps, just lay on the rope and take a whipping. This time he did it with character. He said, "Hey, I'm going to weather this storm."
The rope-a-dope was something that was invented by Muhammad Ali that night.
I must say, I don't understand those tactics, Joe, of staying on the ropes and letting him hit
it. It just shows you the power of intellect and intelligence and how that can compete against anything.
And believe me, I was a big, powerful giant in the ring with Muhammad. I mean, a knockout artist. He stood up to me.
Foreman setting him up against the rope. What a... Look at him whispering in the ear of Foreman.
George Foreman, so young, so strong.
Not supposed to do, leaning up against the ropes. 4 punches downstairs on Ali.
So fearless.
I had him beat, I really did. And really thought I had him beat up in the body, had him tired.
Continues to talk, continues.
Against George Foreman, he does away with his opponents, one after another, in less than 3 rounds.
George not going that type of distance a long time. He was treading in water, never been in before.
This is the furthest that George Foreman has gone in a fight since 1972. Misses the right hand. Ali is definitely confusing him.
Missing the shots that he missed, it drained him.
Look at Foreman's face. He does look tired.
Nobody knew the strength of Muhammad Ali. He was manhandling him, just like Archie said, grabbing him, and he emptied the guy's tank.
I was afraid he was going to get killed by a George Foreman that many of our young viewers don't know.
Boom, perfect timing.
I thought he was hurt. I thought his body was hurt. He came back. He hit Foreman with everything, and he winked at me.
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about it. He winked right over here to this corner.
You know, the guy really was the people's choice, and he was the people's choice because he loved them.
Yes, I'd hate to predict any fight, but my goodness, those people who said Foreman would win in a flash have certainly been proved wrong.
And about the 7th round, he asked me, "That all you got, George?" That was like a nightmare.
After a while, even the dumbest of us looked up there and said, "You know what? He's winning."
Of all time. Muhammad Ali has done it. The great man has done it.
He was, in fact, the greatest heavyweight who ever lived.
I am the greatest.
The world heavyweight boxing champion, Muhammad Ali.
I am the greatest.
8. The referee stops the fight.
He loved people, and he loved the adulation of the crowd.
Joe Frazier will fall.
All of us thought it was going to be a nice, easy fight.
Come on, gorilla. We in Manila.
Where Ali comes out, dances around, the heat, the dum-ba-dum-ba-dum, and knocks him out in 7-8.
A lot of people thought Joe Frazier was washed up.
Joe, no, we got something for you. You hell, you better believe it.
He was once described as the world's most famous man, and indeed it's difficult to think of even a contender.
I told you, I'm the champion of the world.
As you know, there's been a lot of speculation about your condition. There was a suggestion, for instance, that there was brain damage.
Ali really got nailed. Ali lost the mouthpiece.
I mean, you know yourself.
I've been hit a couple of times, but I've never been knocked out. I've never been stopped. I never got hurt. It's strange.
Oh, you must have got hurt in the ring. Well, I mean, I saw you fight Joe Frazier.
He was the greatest because he was a fighter in every sense of the word.
Muhammad Ali was not worshipped. He was actually vilified.
He was a rebel with a cold core.
His Parkinsonism was due to repeated blows in his head. Repeated blows in his head.
And you've seen what can happen to fighters. You've seen those shambling wrecks that go around. You see them at every boxing occasion. And what people are frightened of is they don't want that to happen to you.
Joe's had an awful lot of trouble coping with Ali's fast hands.
Several times he landed very hard punches on Ali, and I thought Ali was gone.
Joe is now double hooking with that left hand. Round 10, scheduled for 15.
Two of the greats going at it nearly killed each other.
Between rounds, before the 10th, I heard Ali say something to you that I never heard him say before. What was that?
Man, he said, this is the closest I've ever been to dying, really. And I said, well, now we got to separate the men from the boys.
Courage that he had in the ring to take life-threatening punishment as we saw him take from Joe Frazier in Manila.
It's been a super fight all the way here in the Philippine Coliseum. Frazier looked awful tired.
One of the most dominant athletes in the history of sports.
Frazier was within a punch or two of going down. The doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over. It's all over.
He took a beating from Frazier. I mean, they took a beating from each other.
Oh, those are horrendous fights. Those are horrendous fights.
That's right, and then I want to retire. This is too painful. It's too much work. I might have a heart attack or something. I want to get up while I'm on top.
There's no explaining why a guy comes back.
They knew.
It's tough to take away the glamour, the allure, the lights.
I would think that Muhammad Ali will have won back the heavyweight championship for the third time. 11 years older than Spinks.
With Muhammad Ali, retirement was a dirty word.
Muhammad Ali, now in the ring, awaiting the arrival of Larry Holmes.
And he was really suffering from Parkinson's already. He was
he really?
Yeah, I was already kicked in.
Evidence of some speech problems. It was a fight Ali never should have taken.
Larry Holmes teeing off on him. Ali gets to his feet ever so slow for the 10th round.
He was a shell of himself as a boxer at that particular moment in time, and it actually broke Larry Holmes' heart.
Yeah, it was like hitting a slow-moving heavy bag.
Game's over. I'm the chief second. All right. I stopped the fight. All right.
The Muhammad Ali story is a triumphant story because he did triumph. And he did change his own life, and he changed the lives of so many other people.
He was kind of a skinny-like kid. The first fight I put him in, he weighed 89 pounds.
Heavyweights Jimmy Jones and Cassius Clay square.
Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men.
Combination 5 in a row. Left and right too fast.
Who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the world they have to change.
He was somebody that had principles. He stood for something.
Right hand, and then dagger down.
The world lost a true icon, Muhammad Ali.
You're being extremely truculent. Whatever truculent mean, if that's good, I'm that.
Ali forced us to take a look at ourselves.
Oh, another right hand!
This brash young man who thrilled us, angered us, confused, and challenged us, ultimately became a silent messenger of peace.
Round 5, the champion Ali says, I'm putting you away now. Get ready, you're going down.
He was one of the most influential people of the 20th century and one of the most dominant athletes in the history of sports.
I'm the greatest of all time.
Well, Cassius, how do you rate yourself as a fighter?
I wouldn't want to do too much bragging about it, but everybody that watches me fight or everybody that has witnessed one of my bouts, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
And he whispered in my ear, little brother, you made my life better than it was.
I am the greatest.
But didn't he make all of our lives a little bit better than they were?